Bombini na A.T.A Talks About, podcast show apresentado por Aruba Tourism Authority, Create e Sopi Mix Studio, for the creative room aqui na oficina de turismo. And welcome everyone. Welcome back to A.T.A Talks About. This is our final episode of season 2. Another interesting and very important topic ahead of us. We're going to talk about Aruba's greatest strength, or one of Aruba's greatest strengths, and that is the safety. But before we get into the topic of the day, let's give a short recap of season 2. We've had many guests with us in different episodes. We talked to different organizations, both locally and internationally. We had different stakeholders, partners, you name it, we've had it. And we talked about different subjects. We talked about our environment, how important this is for us, not only locally, our community, but also for the visitors visiting Aruba. We talked about the labor market, niche marketing, and also how we market Aruba in different markets, in Europe, in Latin America, and of course in North America, our biggest market for Aruba. So we talked about different CEOs, as I mentioned, head of departments, marketing specialists, we had chefs, you name it, again, we had it. The list goes on. But the important thing is to ask, why do we do this? This is one way that we can share with you, the audience, what it takes to have Aruba's tourism flourishing as it has been for many, many years. To understand the process, the work that it all takes, and goes into what everybody does that contributes to Aruba's tourism. So today with me, some special guests, once again. I have the CEO of the Aruba Tourism Authority, Ronella Croes. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I also have our, let me see if I can say it as well, because it's in Dutch. It's Korpschef, the Cuerpo Policial de Aruba, but it's a Chief
Alto Commissario.
Alto Commissario.
Chief of Police.
Chief of Police, Alto Commissario, Ramon Arnhem. Welcome.
Thank you.
Ramon, have you been on podcasts before?
Back in the days, yes.
Back in the days. 'Cause I know you're in different interviews all the time, doing
Yeah.
press conferences, press releases. I've heard you on the radio, but so you're the first police officer, if I may say, that I had as a guest here in the podcast. So welcome.
That's an honor. Thank
No,
you
it's
for-
honor. It's honor to me.
Well, I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
So our topic of the day, we already mentioned it. It's one of Aruba's greatest strengths, safety. But before we get into it, Ramon, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself? Of course, you're the chief of police, but you started somewhere. Tell us about who is
Yeah.
Ramon, where you started,
Yeah.
how the career developed, and what took you
Yeah.
to come to Aruba.
Well, I've been a chief of police in the Netherlands before I came to Aruba. I'm in Aruba for 1.5 years now. Exactly like 1.5 years. And before I came here, I was a chief of police in different units in Amsterdam, like in the eastern part of the Netherlands. Like in different units of policing, like the research, patrol services, all kinds of different,
So quite an extensive background in different,
Exactly, yeah.
different departments.
Yeah.
And then
and therefore, let's say, I always wanted to be a police officer. I studied sociology, and I was always fascinated about serving society and, let's say, bringing something back to society and like doing the good things. And safety is very, like, maybe the most important issue of a person and a society. So that matches the police work.
yeah, great.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to come to Aruba?
Well, Aruba always fascinated me as well. I had friends from Aruba. I've seen like different documentaries, Aruba, and the development of the country and like the relation between Aruba and the Netherlands as well, but also Aruba differently from the other islands. I won't go into what I find the difference, but there is a big difference.
Well, we have to go into that. No.
No, but you know, it was always a dream for me, and a dream came true to get to Aruba, and especially to be a chief of police. And what I can say is like 1.5 year that I've been here, maybe the most beautiful years in my life. The way I've been received and how I met different Aruban people, organizations, like the society in general. There's no words. It's wonderful. The Aruban people and the Aruban society is very special, and I think sometimes they don't realize it themselves.
Yeah.
But if you're from some other place and you come to Aruba, you feel it, you see it, but especially you feel it. And the way how I feel makes me really proud and makes me also want to do something. Do something on safety, but also do something on qualities of life, and be different kinds of serving.
Great.
So
Let's hope that
Yes.
Aruba keeps on treating you the way we have been for the past year and a half, for the years to come. And as you say, we always tend to think that the grass is greener on the other side, and we forget that the grass is greener actually at home. We just have to make sure to water it properly.
Yes, exactly.
amen to that.
Ronella, the topic on safety. Obviously, I'm going to ask you, do you feel safe in Aruba?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
How do you define that feeling safe? What jumps to mind, or how is that feeling? How can you describe that feeling?
First of all, especially when you work in tourism and hospitality, travel is part of the job. So you do get to say yes, and this comes from a perspective of being able to compare. So same as what Ramon just mentioned, coming from a different background, a different environment, we as Arubans, especially those who work in tourism also, get to go to different other countries, and we can then compare. So the taking it for granted becomes less, because you know how it can be. And you understand also of the 1.8, 1.9 million visitors coming on an annual basis to Aruba, you understand what they are able to kind of experience versus what they have back at home. So that makes me not only that, I feel safe because I can move around easily. I don't have to watch my bag. I can drive around with the windows down. Even that is a detail that not in all countries you can do. I can open my laptop, and those who know me know that sometimes I might be in a parking lot and you're busy, so you open your laptop in the car and you do some things there. You cannot do that in other places. You cannot leave your door open in other countries, and I'm not saying that you leave it wide open here, but even me, I mean, I do leave my door open sometimes just to go in and out and without any concern. These are small things. I can go for a run in the morning wherever I want to. I can walk around easily, freely, walk on the beaches with no concern. And those are things that are very important. So these are some examples in terms of, okay, how do I describe that?
Yeah.
And what others also I know appreciate, basically, especially our visitors.
I want to add, maybe Ronella's not going to agree with me, but she has a high-profile job. And we know in other cities or countries, people with a high-profile job, they might have a security detail, or they might not feel safe because of the job that they have. And you being so open and honest about how safe you feel, it's a testament of how safe Aruba is.
It is.
Of
it
being
is.
able to
And
sit in a parking lot and,
And depending on where you travel to,
Mhm.
I've also experienced having to deal with escort.
Mhm.
I've experienced a thorough preparation process prior to getting to a country. Think about, in this case, unfortunately, Venezuela.
Mhm.
In the years before, when things, 2012, 13, when things were getting
Really changed.
pretty bad. But think about Cuba.
Also.
So Cuba also, a full briefing prior to arriving, up to the extent in regards to what to say, what not to say. So I've experienced that. And I've experienced the other side of things also, which is while being married to a minister.
Awesome.
That was also, I had to get used to 24/7 security. So I've experienced different sides of that particular subject.
Yeah.
And indeed, it depends on where you travel to, also what preparation goes with you coming to a country and assuming a certain position
Yeah.
and being part of a certain delegation, et cetera, et cetera. So, yes, and these are things that people don't have to worry about when they travel to Aruba.
They're not supposed to. I mean, and
That is
and
how
they
we
don't.
want.
Yeah.
That is how we want to maintain it, and
Yeah.
it's definitely one of our unique selling propositions.
Yeah.
It is a strength, and it needs to remain a
It
strength.
remains. No, I
Yes.
totally agree. So Ronella mentioned being able to compare how safety is in other countries and Aruba. Ramon, you came to Aruba a year and a half ago. How do you see safety in Aruba, and can you compare it to the Netherlands, for example?
Well, first of all, I truly agree with what Ronella just mentioned and said, and that's fully true. Even though like safety is very subjective, but we can see if we look at like the marks, and then we see that there's a decrease in criminality, like the last for at least 3 years we see, and especially the last 2 years since I'm there. No, that's a joke.
No.
We see like a very we see,
You're doing a
we
good
see
job.
we see a good decrease, but it's very true. Like the safety in Aruba is on a very high level, and that's also because I think we take it very seriously, and there is like continuously there is a anticipation on professionalizing safety issues and building strategies to create more safety and addressing safety issues. And you see, if you like, for example, like in other countries, and I don't want to talk bad about other countries, but I see difference because I travel a lot, lots of conferences, so I meet my other colleagues, like the commissioners of other countries. And if I see the issues they have to deal with, then every time I go home with a big smile on my face. But it's not that it comes for free. Like we do a lot. We anticipate, we take it serious, we put it on an agenda, and there's a lot of commitment. So, for example, like the two of us here, we work together. And in different, I mentioned strategies. Like, for example, now we have hospitality meets safety, and we have boards where we discuss those issues. We have integrated teams where we inspire each other, learn from each other, and create shared values on how important it is to have like safety in different kinds. For example, like tourism, but also in houses. And to be preventive on certain topics, as for example youth. That's because we anticipate and we continually are in dialogue with each other. I think that's like the great power. So the dialogue between different partners discussing on this topic and working together.
So it's very important for visitors to feel safe, of course. How does the safety of the local community play a role in letting visitors feel safe for coming to Aruba?
Well, first of all, I need to say, like, I think the core business is creating safety for our citizens, for the Arubans, and for visitors. So it's not only about visitors, or it's not only about our locals. It's for everyone who puts his feet or is living in Aruba. And because we create that wide perspective on safety, so there's a safety for everyone.
Yeah. I think
We
it's
don't
it's very
differentiate
important
on
you
the
mention
topic.
that it's for everyone, because we tend to forget that, or maybe it's how we perceive the different news on outlets, that safety is only focused on for the tourists or for the
No.
visitors. But I think it's very important to highlight this point.
That's why I say it, because the safety is for everyone, and if there's only safety for tourists, there's no safety. So we focus a lot on that's why I mentioned the agenda. Like, safety is the highest priority on our agenda. It's our core business as well, but safety is for our locals and for our tourists.
And then in that regard, if I may, we have to also put it in context, because indeed we realize that anything that we do and invest in has to benefit not only the visitors, but it has to have an added value for the community. That is a line that the A.T.A has been following, and we do stress on that more and more. But we need to realize also that in any given month, you can count on the fact, especially when there's cruise tourism high season as well, you might have in a month the equal number of people coming in and out equal to your population in any given month, or even more sometimes. And in that regard, it is very important for us to pay extra attention then with our partners such as 𝐓𝒂'𝒔, to pay extra attention in areas that have more people moving around. So that is why in key tourism areas, you do have then extra measures that are adopted on behalf of the A.T.A and our partners. So it is for the benefit of the community, but because you take into account that there are areas with a lot of traffic. So you need extra measures also for the protection of one and all, basically.
No.
So just to put that in context, and that fits within the line of the A.T.A, what our law also mandates from the A.T.A. We are to invest back in tourism, but then tourism benefits
The entire-
everybody,
yep, the
basically.
entire-
Yeah.
Good.
Very true.
No.
Yeah.
So it's a partnership, obviously. Now, I did a Google search to have a feeling of how safe Aruba really is. So thought I could find some rankings, etc. Aruba ranks very high on the safety level. So one of the safest islands in the Caribbean. Can we talk a little bit about what goes into all of this to make sure that we not only are ranked high, but remain ranked high? So maybe if you can give us some examples of the efforts being done so we can understand what it really takes or what the true efforts are when we want to remain highly ranked in this regards.
I'll start by giving some examples, but I think I have to start without a doubt with the number one vehicle that we have as the A.T.A, where we through which we make sure that on an annual basis we do invest in safety and security, and that is the Aruba Hospitality and Security Foundation. So this foundation existed before the A.T.A was privatized in 2011. We took it over, basically, and we committed from 2011 on, we committed to finance this organization, this platform, and make sure that with all partners who are part of the board, including Mr. Arnhem himself, we have a representative on the board, the trade association, so A.T.A, AHATA, there are several hotel members also on board. Together, we formulate the best actions that then focus on key high traffic areas where you have a lot of tourists as well. So that is our number one vehicle through which we invest in security. And we've done that over the years, I would say since 2011 up to 2023, considering the great performance of tourism. I went back to the figures and I can see that we invested more or less 12 million guilders only through this vehicle over the past years. And the investments include boats, bikes, bulletproof vests, training. So these are some examples. However, outside of this platform, we also invest in several things. I can name another example. We recently participated in the project to purchase cameras to be placed in the downtown area and in other areas so as to focus on prevention as well and provide data intelligence and materials for those who are the authorities to work with. That's another example, but think about other things as well. For example, we invested in safety also through the placement of buoys in our waters, which then distinguishes the swimming zone versus the zone where motorized vehicles can basically move around. That's another level of safety also for our swimmers. But also the restoration of the stairs at 𝐓𝐴 that's another level of safety.
And safety can be defined.
And not to forget,
broadly,
during the pandemic, the whole hygiene and protocols that had to be set up. So there are different examples, but the main vehicle is the Aruba Hospitality and Security Foundation.
Great.
Yeah.
How does the effort of ATA or the efforts of ATA and the AHSF, Aruba Hospitality Security Foundation, how do these efforts help the police force?
Well, I think Ronella already mentioned the essence of everything. Like, for me, I see those platforms as the possibility to exchange information and inspire each other, but also to focus on topics where we need to focus on. Like, we bring a very sharp focus. For example, that's how the tourism patrol service came to the world, but also let's say if we need something, for example, like gears, or or to reach out to gather more intelligence. And so all those processes are facilitated by those boards, those settings, those meetings. So the essence for me is truly about having short lines to speak to each other and listen to each other and know how to act in a very effective way.
There
you go.
I think that's the essence of it.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
And aside from this platform, I can say that, unfortunately, we've had our personal experience also, Ramon and I, in terms of when it pertains to crisis moments.
Exactly.
That is another area of collaboration that is very, very important for Aruba. And I can say that throughout the years, the prosecutor's office, working with the A.T.A, but in this case also the chief of police, direct lines, direct communication is very, very important to manage crisis moments or potential crisis moments that we can face as an island, and where then tourism can be negatively impacted.
Okay.
So that is another area of collaboration.
It's where tourism can be negatively impacted by news going out there.
And by the way that Aruba, so it's
perceived.
Aruba manages the situation.
Okay.
So
maybe I need to say as well, because Ronella didn't mention it, but A.T.A is a very intelligent organization. I've seen the crisis, but I've also seen some incident and the rapid response the A.T.A took care of or anticipated on certain crises. Like that was on a really, really high level. It was a very I got inspired by about on how fast they acted and on how intelligent they were, so where they gathered their intelligence from and how they collected the intel. That's very inspiring.
So maybe for the audience to truly understand, what happens if a potential crisis or a crisis is not managed well enough? What does it mean? What is the impact?
I'm sorry to say, but we've had as Aruba, one of the worst experiences actually with Natalie Holloway. So I'm not even mentioning 9/11 because that is not something that's initiated here. It was something that happened abroad and it impacted us. But Natalie Holloway is something that initiated here. So I think all parties involved, after that, of course, they learned a lot. But then it's very, very important to have a very, very clear processes in place. And I'm very fortunate that, we've booked a lot of progress as Aruba on that front. So from A.T.A.'s court, we protect and we manage Aruba's image abroad. Of course, in a market like the Netherlands, that's a different ballgame because there you have politics also coming more on the forefront. So, of course, we don't manage everything on that spectrum. But in the other markets, it's the brand Aruba. And there are very clear lines up to the prime minister knowing that, on the back end, in the back office is then A.T.A.
Yeah.
Even should there be a moment where the chief of police would have to say something publicly, imagine if you have CNN walking around here, etc., all of that, you can trust that you can count on us for advice, and that we then assist those who need to come on the forefront with very well crafted
Statements,
Exactly.
information.
Yes. And we work a lot. We work very closely with the private sector who also follow the A.T.A. So we are in the lead. We give all of the hotels, for instance, depending on the situation, reactive statements. We say, send this out proactively. Do not send this out
Yeah.
proactively. So we've learned a lot. And of course, we have... We deploy monitoring systems immediately. We know what's happening exactly in all of the markets, all of our markets, what is being mentioned about Aruba. And then based on that, we then strategize.
Yeah.
And based on the local situation also, in terms of what's happening.
At the end
And
of
we
the-
rely on 𝐓𝒂'𝒔 and on others a lot, because through them, we can obtain answers to questions that we have so as to simply get prepared.
Yeah.
And that is we're very grateful for that trust level. And it has to be like that.
Yeah.
It has to be an integrated effort.
At the end of the day, it's not only the image of Aruba or the reputation, but it has a very big impact on the economy.
Of course. Of
And
course.
that's why we have this podcast, to really understand how it works,
Yes.
and to keep making it work.
And crisis can be of a different nature. So it can be unfortunate incidents. For instance, what we've experienced recently
Mhm.
on the waters of Aruba.
Tragic
A
accident,
tragic
yes.
accident that we experienced last year. But it can also be like an oil spill that
Mhm.
might enter our waters. It can be sargassum in the water surrounding Aruba. So it can, the crisis things that we experience can be of a different nature, and
Yeah.
then you activate accordingly.
Great. So if we just jump into shortly the tragic news the last couple of days off the coast of Aruba, that's also something that is being talked about a lot. Chief of Police, you've been doing a good job on informing everyone in Aruba and how dangerous it is, what's truly happening. Maybe you can just highlight it for a moment.
Yeah. Now, first of all, God bless everyone who died. We have now seen 4 bodies, and now let's say we hope we don't find more, but we don't know. And I told the people, I've tried to make a statement to warn people not to take those kinds of risks. Like, we're still in the investigation, so I cannot speak on facts yet. So maybe it is human trafficking, maybe it's an accident, we don't know. But what we do know, that we have seen human trafficking causing those kinds of problems in the past. So I'm concerned about people. No one needs to die or be in situations like this. So there was a clear warning against possible organizations who organize certain ways of getting to other countries, crossing the sea. We will research and we will find, arrest and bring people who act like this to court. But our main cause now is victims and their families and their loved ones, the victims left behind. And I feel very bad. And also for our island, this is not Aruba. This image of people dying in front of the coast is so bad and it's so hurtful to see. I've seen the bodies, I've seen my colleagues and the partners working and doing everything they can to, de-escalate the situation and to find the bodies, and that's a part of police work, also a part of work the firemen's doing, fire departments. But it's a very tough situation.
No, you can't go into detail, so we'll leave it at that and wish you the best of luck in the further development of this tragic accident. Ronella, we talked about partnerships. Obviously, we have 2 partners here on board. You mentioned a couple of others. Who are the other partners that are important for making Aruba feel safe for everyone who visits?
Many. And it depends on the situation. But let me then just highlight some things also that I think are prudent to bring forward. For example, we have, of course, we work with the immigration, we work with customs, we work with maritime, the Coast Guard, different other parties. And depending on the situation, we then escalate the efforts through other parties. For instance, Coast Guard was very much involved in the missing person on our waters a couple of months ago. So post meetings did take place between, for instance, the hotel sector, the A.T.A, and the Coast Guard and the police department to evaluate how it all went and to make agreements in terms of what can we do better. That's just an example, how we recalibrate. But I can also mention, for instance, Customs Border Protection at the airport, CBP. So we do not have to take it for granted that Aruba, our service to our main market, the U.S. market, and all others who travel to the airport, offer them U.S. pre-clearance at the airport. That is very unique. Not many on a global front can offer this service. And Aruba was, as a matter of fact, one of the first ones to offer this. So we take it for granted, and it's normal for us to arrive in the U.S. and you arrive in a domestic. So you don't have to stand in line, you don't have to go through the other procedure as if you are an international traveler.
Yeah.
And even having that on island comes with requirements. And I think that's very important to realize, the close collaboration with Customs Border Protection that entails a lot of other details. And the fact that we have that also at the private plane terminal, which is also very unique. So I just wanted to highlight that, and CBP in this case as a partner to also mention, basically.
I think it's important you highlight this, because it's not only us here in Aruba trying to maintain ourselves in a high standards, but it's also the CBP from the U.S. doing this for us. So it works in many ways.
Yes, and not to be taken for granted.
Exactly.
So this is these are U.S. Public employees, basically, being deployed in Aruba to basically provide that service. So, and that is, I mean, of course, as an airport, as the port, I mean, there are other codes and protocols that our ports have to also adhere to. So people coming in and going out are subjected to a set of protocols that our authorities, I must say, carry very well. So,
so
and that is very important, because that is these are the official gates.
So the list
of
of
who you let
partners
in,
is
and
very extensive.
yes, but we also collaborate, for instance, with immigration. During the pandemic, we took care of setting up the digital immigration platform for Aruba. We, as the A.T.A, led that project. So I'm very proud of the team, who basically did an amazing job. And we took it in our hands to, okay, we're going to lead. Of course, it is an immigration matter, but we were entrusted with that as well. And the team did a beautiful job. And now we're again going through the redesign of this platform. So there are different ways that we collaborate with other entities as well, and not to forget the private sector, through A.T.A, Aruba Timeshare Association, etc.
Yeah, great.
The prosecutor's office, 𝐓𝒂'𝒔,
And the list goes on.
yes. Yeah.
Okay, so by the time of airing of this episode, there's an announcement that has been made between A.T.A, the police force AHSF. Would you like to do the honor?
Yeah, that's Ramon is on the board of 𝐴HNSF, but indeed, past Monday, one of the projects that we've been talking about with 𝐴HNSF for a long time is that we would like to see more visibility. Visibility brings also an added level of tranquility, and I think Ramon mentioned it very well. So it's the you said hospitality and meet safety. Yes. So this is the Tourism Security Patrol Aruba was launched. And this is next to the tourism-oriented police, which is already part of the police department, who roam around the area of downtown on their bicycles. This is another unit, not a police unit, but certainly went through the training, and Ramon can elaborate on that also, but it's another force that Aruba launches. You will see these professionally trained people roaming around the area of DV hotels all the way to, if not mistaken, the Ritz-Carlton. Yes, the Ritz-Carlton. In our beach areas, in the area of Palm Beach, working in shifts, and basically providing hospitality service, but also their primary task is to make sure that on a safety level, everything is occurring as it should.
Yeah.
And they are geared with a very beautiful uniform, but they have the necessary training. So it's important is the fact that they've undergone extensive training in profiling. And this is basically, I trust that the police will make very good use of this as well, because it's kind of an extension of eyes, ears. But yeah. Ramon, you're on the board in the board meetings, but we're very, very happy about this.
I used to live in the Netherlands. Can we compare this to what they call the wijkagenten?
No.
Okay, so it goes further.
No, it's more specific. Like a wijkagent is like a community police officer. But there's a part of what you call wijkagent are doing. That's like being the ears and the eyes in the community. You can say that this unit will be like ears and eyes in the tourism sector, for example. Like, but I think Ronella already said a lot about it. The thing is, as I mentioned before, like with the development of our organization, I mentioned like we are focusing on two strategies. One is like the community policing, like being more in dialogue with the community we are serving, and the other one is more on being of organizing a more like working on more information-driven strategies. And what this unit does, like the Tourism Patrol Aruba, it's like they gather information, they see, they listen, they speak, and they can also act. And they are working really great together with like police, with the police officers. There's like they work in 2 shifts, and there's a supervisor, and the supervisor is in direct contact with the officers as well. And we are continually sharing information and also assist each other. So sharing information is the base. And what they do, they have like more eyes and ears for the details. The police is not capable of, because of lacking capacity, but also on micro levels of certain topics. So this is a very, I think this is a very good development in creating even more safety. And also because of the visibility I mentioned before, like the subjective feelings of safety will also increase because of you see more uniformed people, and those are this team is also trained, specialized training on on certain parts of communication. So as police officers do other things, like the way we communicate, we are not always into like long conversations and listen to, certain things. But this team is focusing on this topic and creating and gathering information, but also acting on safety matters in an intelligent way. So they have good gear, like they have like helmets, e-bikes, they have like body cams, flashlight, like everything you need to have for doing your job.
They have.
Yeah.
Okay, well equipped. When can we start seeing them patrolling? When do they start?
On the 18th of December.
On the 18th of December. We're looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing them on the road and doing the good job that they need to do and helping not only the police force but Aruba in general on safety.
Yeah, certainly.
All right,
Certainly,
so takes us into the next segment, which I call predictions, but actually, because it's a final episode, I want to ask about the highlights for 2023. And we can keep it either on safety or take it more general on tourism. So, Ronella, I'd like to ask you, for you, 2023, what has been your biggest highlight for the year? And I know there's many. Because recently I see LATAM start flying to Aruba, and I'm happy to book very soon to go to Peru because it gives me that option now. I know tourism picked up very well compared to 2019. We can see it. We have a lot of things being announced throughout the year. But what has been one highlight that you say, hey, this for me personally or for A.T.A?
Yeah, there have been many, fortunately. And again, not to take it for granted, but Aruba is back in terms of seat capacity levels, back to 2019 levels. But it is very remarkable to be able to celebrate two critical inaugural flights in a year, which is British Airways and LATAM Airlines. And it's even sweeter because you've been working on these things for a long time. so that's good. But I have to go back to a little bit before 2023 opened, when Aruba was awarded with the Destination Resilience Award on behalf of Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association.
Congratulations.
We presented the case of Aruba in terms of how we managed the pandemic. So Aruba, the A.T.A worked on this, but all parties involved, the whole strategy. I mean, it's the fact that Aruba was closed for a number of months, but then realized very, very fast that we need to reopen. We are not in the same situation as other destinations or other countries. We rely heavily on tourism. So it was remarkable to, when you go back and reflect, to think about the fact that on the 10th of July, when we reopened for the U.S., for instance, Aruba was one of, I think, the 7 countries in the world open for the U.S. So, of course, there were a lot of eyes on Aruba, and we took calculated risks. And I'm very proud that these risks were very well calculated, and they worked out tremendously. And we were able to then serve as an example of, hey, we took the step, bold moves. We started reopening. Okay, how did you do it? What are the protocols that you had in place? How do you vet who comes in, who cannot come in? The insurance that we introduced during the pandemic was also a very new thing. Oh, then other parties followed, other destinations followed. So it was great to see how we took on leadership, not only for our island, but as example for others to, okay, let's do this. And we bounced back and pretty fast because of that, but also because Aruba's translation, or how we give content and meaning to what institutes a sustainable management of tourism and of our economy and country. That sustainability is linked in this case, amongst other, through the fact that our law as the A.T.A mandates us to build an emergency fund. So it was exactly also that we activated during a pandemic. And not all others have this as part of their management of tourism. So we were able to also come forward pretty fast, faster than others.
Yeah.
So that award, it symbolizes a lot. It symbolizes resilience, strength, leadership, and just what I like personally, but just being bold
Yeah.
and showing that you can and going for it. So I think, and this is not only the A.T.A, this is all parties involved.
No, congratulations,
Ramon, you
Aruba.
did not have the pleasure of being on islands during that time,
Yeah,
but
no,
it was
I've
between
heard about it.
it was between the chief of police, myself, and the person in charge of health affairs.
Mhm.
It was that balance.
Yeah.
And of course, led by the Prime Minister, and other parties
it-
collaborating, of course.
I think we
yeah.
keep on showing here, not only at the A.T.A, but in Aruba in general, that working together can take us very far.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And this is another example.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Ramon, any highlights for you for 2023? If we're looking back.
Now I have to be a bit shy because I've been here for like 1.5 years. But what makes me happy is like the development of the police force. So it's like slow steps taking us forward, and I see my people being happy, and I see like the developments we make in education, but also the developments we make through building new partnerships with different partners, professionalizing our organization, and but also, as I mentioned before, like our core business is to guarantee safety and security. And as I said, I see the marks. There is like a decrease in criminality, and that means that our country, our island is getting more safe. And I'm also working on these subjective safety issues, and therefore we have like a lot of dialogue sessions with community groups. So I've just came from a lunch with 25 people, 25 persons from all over Aruba to discuss on stuff and listen to music, have ayakas.
It's the season.
It is very nice. So I feel like my goals is to bound together and to create sustainable relationships and create like the ground for being an effective police. And then being an effective police for me is to create safety, but also to gather information and have legitimacy from our society. And I see we are making steps in that direction. So therefore I'm really happy and very thankful.
No, awesome. Keep on doing the
Great.
good job that
Great.
you've
Great.
been doing.
Thank you.
Yes,
So-
I want to thank you and your team as well. And we work with several individuals on your
Sure.
team, and we work very well together. So that's good. Yes.
Great. So, Ronella, I want to leave you and give us some final words, since this is the last episode before I close it out.
Tristan, I want to thank you for
No, thank you for having me.
the job that you've done during season 2. There is a reason why we have a season 2, because we see the reaction. We see that there is it is a way to get close to the community, to inform, but also to get comments. Of course, every episode, it's informing. It's a one way. But it invites the community to also provide comments to the A.T.A.
Yeah.
And based on that, we can also better formulate what we can do to better assist and better be present for the community. At the end of the day, everything that we do is actually to contribute. It has to
It is.
contribute to a better quality of life
Yeah.
for the community. That is the end goal of why we even are engaged in tourism as Aruba, and we do it through the A.T.A, amongst other.
Yeah.
So that is very important. We don't control everything. We are not the authority to decide on all matters in terms of how the money flowing in is spent, but we need to make sure that we demonstrate and we stick to what we know is good for the community. And this podcast allows the community to be better informed and to obtain feedback. So that is very good. I thank all of those who participated in all of the podcasts.
Long list.
Yes. And I hope that the spin that we went for this season, so inviting third-party partners, or third parties for that matter, as opposed to season 1, where it was mostly internal ATA and featuring our team members. I hope that, and I can see that was well received as well. And the beauty about podcasts is that it's there.
Yeah.
So you can use the holiday season to catch up and go watch podcasts and
or
learn more, or rewatch
and
learn more about tourism and all of our partners that we basically provided a platform to, so that they can also be in touch with the community through this vehicle. So thank you to everybody, and thank you to those who take the time to watch as well.
Definitely. It's a long list, but thank you, everyone. Thank you for those who are out there listening week after week. It's why we do it, to inform you. And as Ronella said, your comments, feedback, DMs are more than welcome. It helps us, definitely. So thank you for that, Ronella.
Yes.
So allow me to switch to Papiamento to close this episode out.
Okay.
I think everybody was accustomed to that. So once again,
I think we can give some final words to Ramon, though.
Sigur.
Because maybe,
Ramon, some final words if you want to as well. You're invited.
Before we close it off completely.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for having me in this podcast. It's a very nice conversation. I have to mention it. But short and sweet, I'd like to thank everyone, and especially our partners. And to fight against crime, it's important to continue working closely together. And sharing information together. But for now, I just want to wish everyone a safe and pleasant holidays together with your loved ones. Thank you very much for everything you've done for Aruba.
Ronella, Ramon, I'll call you 𝑧𝒓𝒂𝒔 𝑮𝒓𝒆💂💕. Danke for the junto comigo para o último episode de A.T.A Talks About Season 2. E com essa aqui, vai ser o programa viaje mais e o último viaje season aqui. A.T.A Talks About uma produção de Aruba Tourism Authority, Sopi Studio e Create. Naturalmente, você seguir e follow tour episode, riba plataforma favorito de seguir podcast. Me lo bisa, até o próximo viaje. Anto, feliz dia de fiesta. Tudo bom.
Mientras que nos te despedimos de outro ano, láganos aceptar a promessa de início novo. Nos compromisso está com nos isla, com nos gente nan bonita. Que ano novo traze amor, unidade e bondade em cada hogar e com nos tur carga a meta principal para proteger a pedra preciosa da Aruba. Feliz dia nan de fiesta de parte Oficina de Turismo A.T.A.